It was a quiet Tuesday night in Austin, Texas, and 22-year-old Lily Turner sat alone on her porch, the summer air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. Her marriage to Daniel, her 26-year-old husband, had been on shaky ground for months. He was a devoted man once, but lately, the spark had faded. Late nights at work, distant conversations, and a phone that seemed to light up with messages he never shared. That night, Lily's heart was heavy. She had planned a special dinner to rekindle their connection. Candles on the table, his favorite lasagna in the oven, and soft jazz playing in the background. But by 9 p.m., Daniel still hadn't come home. She almost blew out the candles and cried herself to sleep when headlights finally swept across the driveway. Daniel stepped out, looking tired and worn, carrying a small paper bag. He avoided her gaze as he walked in. "Where have you been?" she asked softly, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. He sighed. "I needed to think, Lily. I've been a loss lately." Before she could respond, he pulled out 2 tickets from the bag, not for a concert or a vacation, but for a late-night couples counseling retreat starting that very weekend. Lily blinked, confused. "I thought you didn't believe in that stuff." "I didn't," Daniel admitted, "until I realized I was losing the only woman I've ever loved. I had to change. I don't want to just save our marriage. I want to fight for it." Tears welled up in her eyes as she threw her arms around him. That night, they didn't just talk. They laughed, danced in the kitchen, and held each other until sunrise. It felt like the beginning all over again. But the suspense came days later. At the retreat, Lily met one of the counselors, a warm, smiling woman who looked vaguely familiar. Midway through a group session, Daniel confessed something shocking. The counselor was his ex-girlfriend from college. He had reached out to her for help because she had once saved her own marriage and knew what to do. The revelation could have shattered Lily's trust, but instead, it made her realize something powerful. Daniel hadn't run to another woman to replace her. He had run to one to help him keep her. That night in Austin wasn't the night their marriage ended. It was the night it began again. The couple's retreat turned out to be nothing like Lily expected. Set in a rustic lodge on the outskirts of Austin, it had dimly lit fireplaces, cozy reading corners, and long winding trails surrounded by tall pine trees. By the second day, Lily and Daniel were closer than they had been in months. They hiked together, cooked together, and even held hands during the group exercises. The counselor, Daniel's ex, Sarah, was professional and kind, never crossing any lines. But Lily couldn't ignore a small, nagging feeling, a whisper in the back of her mind. Late one evening, Lily stepped outside to get some air and overheard voices coming from the garden. Daniel and Sarah were talking in hushed tones. "Are you sure you want her to know?" Sarah asked. "She has to know eventually," Daniel replied. "But I don't want to ruin this weekend for her." Lily froze. Know what? Her stomach tightened. 1,000 possibilities raced through her mind. Was he hiding another betrayal? A financial crisis? Something worse? That night, back in their cabin, Lily couldn't sleep. She watched Daniel's chest rise and fall beside her, the man she loved more than anything, and yet, the mystery gnawed at her. On the last day of the retreat, during their final private session, Lily couldn't hold back anymore. "Daniel, what is it you didn't want to tell me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Daniel took a deep breath, then reached into his bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. Inside was a pregnancy test and an ultrasound photo. Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Is this?" Daniel nodded, smiling through nervous tears. "It's ours, Lily. I didn't want to tell you until I knew for sure. I wanted this weekend to be about healing us before we started this new chapter." In that moment, Lily's heart swelled so much she thought it might burst. The tears came fast, but this time, they were tears of joy. They kissed, deeply, desperately, knowing their love had been tested and had survived. But just as they were about to leave, Sarah pulled Lily aside and whispered, "There's something else you don't know about that night Daniel came to me." The screen fades to black. Lily stood frozen in the lodge's hallway, Sarah's words still hanging in the air like a cold mist. "What do you mean?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. Sarah's eyes darted to where Daniel was waiting by the door, loading their bags into the car. That night, when Daniel came to me for help, it wasn't just about your marriage. Lily's heart began pounding so loudly she could barely hear Sarah's voice. Sarah continued, "He was here because someone had sent him pictures. Pictures that looked like you with another man." Lily's mouth fell open.
What?
That's impossible. I would never. I know, Sarah said quickly. That's why I told him to see me in person before he made any decision. Whoever sent them wanted him to believe you were unfaithful. It was meant to destroy you both. Lily's hands shook. Who would do something like that? Sarah hesitated. We traced the number. It belonged to a co-worker of Daniel's. A man who has had feelings for you for a long time. Daniel didn't want to tell you because he didn't want to put that poison in your head while you were already hurting. He wanted to fight for you, not accuse you.
The room seemed to spin.
Lily thought back to the last few months. Odd phone calls, strange looks from a man she barely interacted with. It all made sickening sense. Just then, Daniel appeared in the doorway. Is everything okay? Lily looked at him, her eyes brimming with tears. Not of hurt this time, but of overwhelming love. She stepped forward, cupping his face in her hands. You believed in me, even when someone tried to make you doubt. Daniel swallowed hard. I know who you are, Lily. I've always known. And I wasn't about to lose the woman I love to a lie. They left the retreat hand in hand, the weight of the past few months melting away. That night back in Austin, they didn't sleep much. They talked until dawn, about fears, dreams, the baby, and the life they wanted to build. Daniel kissed her forehead as the first sunlight poured through the curtains. From now on, he whispered, no secrets, no walls, just us. Lily smiled through tears, resting her head on his chest. In that moment, she knew this was more than the night that saved her marriage. It was the night that made it unbreakable. Suspense twist ending. Months later, as Lily decorated the nursery, a plain white envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was a single Polaroid photo of her and Daniel asleep together in their own bed. No note, no explanation. Someone was still watching.